EastEnders Jack Branning decides to take control next week, as he sets out to pin the blame for the shooting on Ravi Gulati. Ravi remains completely unaware that his old romantic rival has turned against him. But could Jack be exposed before he manages to plant the incriminating proof? Life in Albert Square has been thrown into chaos after the shocking gun attack, and no one feels it more than Jack and Ravi, reveals our source from Walford. Both men know the weapon all too well, the same gun that's left a neighbour battling for survival in hospital, and each is desperate to avoid a jail sentence. Jack, however, is especially eager to prove his innocence, even if it means throwing Ravi under the bus. The identity of the victim and the true shooter is still being kept secret, but this week Jack wrestles with his next move, while Denise Fox starts to grow wary of her boyfriend's behaviour. D.S. Spencer turns up to speak with Jack about the brutal attack, but Jack bends the truth about where he was that evening. Denise quickly realises his story doesn't add up and calls him out on the lies. Not long after, Ravi is hauled into the police station and opts for a bold move, claiming that he spent the night of the shooting with Jack. Ravi's gamble to use Jack as his alibi pushes the case straight back towards his greatest rival, our insider reveals. With the pressure mounting, Jack is forced to improvise when he's questioned again, insisting to his colleagues that he was actually trying to persuade Ravi to become a police informant when the gun went off. But will this explanation be enough to convince the detectives to back off? As the pressure mounts, Jack and Ravi agree it's time to get rid of the firearm for good. They set a plan in motion, but Jack has a sudden change of heart after another encounter with D.S. Spencer. Ravi loses his temper when Jack fails to show at their agreed meeting place, and the next day he confronts him in the square, demanding an explanation. Jack reassures him that they'll definitely dispose of the weapon, though secretly he's plotting something far darker. Jack urges Ravi to leave Walford and act as bait for the police, giving him the chance to deal with the evidence unnoticed, our insider reveals. But the whole thing is a trick. Jack's real intention is to keep Ravi distracted while he hides the gun in his flat. While Ravi is far away, Jack seizes the moment and slips into number 5A to plant the weapon. However, his scheme hits a snag when Priya suddenly walks through the door. Frozen with fear, Jack scrambles to stay out of sight, hoping she won't catch him. Could his devious plot already be ruined? EastEnders spoilers reveal Eve Unwin to be victim of vile attack by returning character. The comeback won't happen in isolation. More well-known faces are due to reappear in Walford over the next few weeks. Fresh EastEnders teasers confirm that Eve Unwin will become the target of a homophobic assault carried out by one of the returning residents. This week also saw Zoe Slater make her dramatic re-entry, with Michelle Ryan reprising the role full-time for the first time in 2 decades. Between Patrick and Yolande Truman's wedding, a shocking shooting, leaving one local fighting for survival, and more twists on the horizon, EastEnders shows no sign of slowing down. On Monday, September 8th, gossip is spreading faster than ever in Walford after Zoe's shocking return, though the details of her comeback are still shrouded in secrecy. Nigel and Julie Bates are left devastated when they find their chickens, including the much-loved David Peckham, have been killed by foxes, only to later realise that Nigel himself is unintentionally responsible. As Nigel grows increasingly unsettled by gaps in his memory, he begins to question Julie's secretive phone calls. Although she insists she's speaking to someone about a potential job, Nigel becomes wary and asks Phil Mitchell to take him out of Walford for a quiet escape to the countryside. Elsewhere, Jack Branning weighs up his next step after the gun attack, though it's obvious that his wife Denise Fox doesn't fully trust him. D.S. Spencer soon turns up to go over what's happened, but Jack invents a false story about where he was that night, only raising more suspicion from Denise. Not long after, Ravi Gulati is taken in for police questioning, but he takes a dangerous gamble by telling officers that Jack can vouch for him as they were together during the shooting. Backed into a corner, Jack claims he was actually attempting to recruit Ravi as an informant at the time, and later agrees to dispose of the firearm with him, but has second thoughts once DS Spencer pays another visit. On Tuesday, September 7th, the Slater family try to pick up the pieces after the chaos of the previous week, though plenty of mysteries are still unresolved. Ravi confronts Jack in the square after he failed to turn up to their meeting, only to be blindsided when Jack urges him to leave Walford and act as a distraction for the police. Later, Jack slips into number 5A to stash the firearm but is forced into hiding when Priya Avani Hart unexpectedly comes home. Meanwhile, Nigel and Phil head into the countryside on a nostalgic trip to track down a time capsule Nigel once buried with Grant as a child, and they're shocked by what they uncover, leading to a heartfelt conversation between the pair. At the Albert, Callum Highway steps in to stop a violent and abusive homophobic assault on Eve, only to be stunned when the attacker is unmasked as his own father, Jono Highway, whom he immediately arrests. Jono, making his first appearance since 2019, insists he isn't guilty and shifts the blame onto a friend, leaving Callum torn over whether to believe him. Eve, however, is certain Jono was behind the attack, and her wife Suki Panasar Unwin shows up to stand by her side, with the ordeal helping the couple begin to repair their relationship after clashing over Avani's abortion. Meanwhile, on Wednesday, September 10th, the Slaters continue trying to put their lives back together, though Zoe's dramatic comeback ensures obstacles keep coming their way. Johnny Carter chooses to see Jono despite Elaine Highway's warnings and offers to give him legal advice, hoping to find out if his father wants a relationship with him. Jono is hesitant to open up, but when Johnny reveals his Carter connection, the two head to the Vic for a drink. Later, Callum is moved when Johnny, with whom he is secretly involved, tells him that Jono is interested in meeting him. Meanwhile, Julie feels overlooked as Nigel and Phil return home from their countryside trip. On Thursday, September 11th, Callum meets Jono at the flat with Johnny by his side. Things initially seem promising, but Callum quickly realizes that Jono's true aim is to get money. When Callum refuses to give in, Jono reveals his true nature. But when Callum demands his father leave, Jono collapses and suffers a heart attack. Meanwhile, Julie feels anxious as Phil and Nigel help her in a light-hearted way to get ready for her job interview at the school. Later, Nigel confuses George Knight for Julie's former flame, and Julie misses her interview to stay home and care for him. EastEnders airs Monday to Thursday at 7:30 p.m. on BBC One, with episodes also available to stream early on BBC iPlayer from 6 a.m. before their TV broadcast.